The Earth is warming. Our planet's delicate climate system is being disrupted by human activities. This is climate change, a defining challenge of our time. It is no longer a distant threat. It is here, it is now, and it is impacting every corner of our world. Ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, and extreme weather events are becoming more frequent and intense. The very fabric of life on Earth is under threat. The understanding of climate change has been a journey of scientific discovery spanning centuries. It is a story of curiosity, observation, and relentless pursuit of knowledge. As early as the 19th century, scientists began to recognize the heat-trapping properties of certain gases in the atmosphere. These early pioneers laid the groundwork for what would become a critical field of study. These gases, which we now call greenhouse gases, were identified as key players in regulating the Earth's temperature. The pioneering work of scientists like John Tyndall and Svante Arrhenius laid the foundation for our understanding of the greenhouse effect. Tyndall's experiments in the 1850s demonstrated that gases such as carbon dioxide could trap heat, while Arrhenius, in the 1890s, quantified the impact of these gases on global temperatures. In the latter half of the 20th century, evidence began to mount that human activities, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, were significantly increasing the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This period saw a dramatic rise in industrial activities, leading to unprecedented levels of emissions. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, established in 1988, has played a pivotal role in synthesizing the scientific consensus on climate change. This body brought together experts from around the world to assess and compile the latest research. Through rigorous assessments of the latest scientific research, the IPCC has provided policymakers and the public with clear and concise information on the causes, impacts, and potential solutions to climate change. Their reports have been instrumental in shaping global climate policies and driving international efforts to mitigate the effects of climate change. The natural world is feeling the heat of climate change most acutely. Wildlife populations are facing unprecedented challenges as their habitats shrink, temperatures rise, and food sources become scarce. Polar bears, for example, are iconic symbols of the Arctic, but their icy realm is melting away at an alarming rate. As sea ice disappears, polar bears are losing their hunting grounds and are forced to travel farther in search of food, often with dire consequences. In tropical rainforests, home to an astonishing diversity of life, rising temperatures and changes in rainfall patterns are disrupting delicate ecosystems. Many species of plants and animals are adapted to very specific climatic conditions, and even small changes can have cascading effects throughout the food web. Forests, often referred to as the lungs of the planet, play a crucial role in regulating the Earth's climate. They absorb vast amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis, storing it in their wood, leaves, and roots. However, climate change is putting unprecedented stress on these vital ecosystems. Rising temperatures and changes in precipitation patterns are increasing the frequency and intensity of wildfires, decimating vast swaths of forest and releasing huge amounts of carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. In addition to wildfires, forests are also succumbing to insect infestations, diseases, and drought, all exacerbated by climate change. As forests die back, they lose their ability to absorb carbon dioxide, further accelerating the pace of climate change. This creates a dangerous feedback loop where climate change leads to more forest loss, which in turn leads to more climate change. Section 5. Oceans in crisis: rising tides, bleaching corals. The oceans, covering more than 70% of the Earth's surface, are feeling the heat of climate change in profound ways. As the planet warms, the oceans absorb much of the excess heat, leading to rising sea levels, ocean acidification, and changes in ocean currents. Rising sea levels threaten coastal communities and infrastructure, while ocean acidification is harming marine life, particularly shellfish and coral reefs. Coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea, are particularly vulnerable to climate change. These vibrant ecosystems are under threat from rising ocean temperatures, which can cause coral bleaching, a phenomenon where corals expel the symbiotic algae that live within their tissues, turning them white and often leading to their death. Section 6. A world sown with discontent, climate change and human conflict. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is also a security issue. The impacts of climate change are far-reaching and multifaceted, affecting not only the natural world but also human societies in profound ways. As resources become scarcer and ecosystems are disrupted, the potential for conflict over land, water, and food increases. This scarcity can lead to heightened competition and even violence as communities struggle to secure their basic needs. In many parts of the world, climate change is exacerbating existing tensions and contributing to instability. The The stress on resources can ignite underlying social, economic, and political issues, turning them into full-blown conflicts. For example, in the Sahel region of Africa, prolonged droughts and desertification are putting immense pressure on pastoralist communities, leading to competition for grazing land and water resources. This competition often results in violent clashes and displacement of people. The Syrian civil war, which began in 2011, has been cited as an example of how climate change can contribute to conflict. The war has had devastating consequences, displacing millions and causing widespread suffering. A severe drought in the years leading up to the war, likely exacerbated by climate change, led to widespread crop failures and mass displacement of people from rural areas into cities, adding to social and economic stresses that contributed to the outbreak of violence. The influx of displaced people into urban areas strained resources and infrastructure, creating a breeding ground for unrest and conflict. Section 7. Agriculture under strain, feeding a warming world. Agriculture, the backbone of human civilization, is facing unprecedented challenges in a changing climate. Rising temperatures, changes in rainfall patterns, and extreme weather events are impacting crop yields and livestock production around the world. In some regions, warmer temperatures may initially lead to longer growing seasons and increased agricultural productivity. However, these gains are likely to be offset by other factors, such as increased heat stress on plants, the spread of pests and diseases, and water scarcity. In many developing countries, where agriculture is often rain-fed and farmers are more vulnerable to climate variability, the impacts of climate change are particularly acute. Crop failures and livestock losses can lead to food insecurity, malnutrition, and economic hardship, trapping people in a cycle of poverty. Section 8. The thirst for solutions. Water scarcity in a changing climate. Water, the essence of life, is becoming increasingly scarce in many parts of the world due to climate change. Rising temperatures increase the rate of evaporation, depleting water sources and intensifying droughts. Changes in precipitation patterns, with some areas experiencing more intense rainfall while others face prolonged dry spells, are also disrupting water availability. Glaciers, which act as natural water towers, are melting at an alarming rate, reducing downstream water supplies for millions of people. Water scarcity has profound implications for human health, food security, and economic development. It can lead to conflicts over water resources, displacement of people, and increased vulnerability to diseases. Section 9. Global Action, a symphony of hope. In the face of this global challenge, the world is not standing idly by. International agreements, technological innovations, and grassroots movements are emerging as beacons of hope in the fight against climate change. The Paris Agreement, adopted in 2015, is a landmark international accord that aims to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with efforts to limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Paris Agreement marked a turning point in the global response to climate change, with nearly every country in the world committing to take action to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Section 10. Technological innovation, the power of human ingenuity. Human ingenuity, which has driven progress throughout history, is now being harnessed to develop innovative solutions to climate change. From renewable energy technologies like solar and wind power to energy efficiency measures and carbon capture and storage, a wave of innovation is transforming the way we generate and consume energy, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. Electric vehicles are becoming increasingly mainstream, offering a cleaner alternative to gasoline-powered cars. Advances in battery technology are making electric vehicles more affordable and practical, while charging infrastructure is expanding rapidly. In the building sector, energy-efficient designs, smart appliances, and green building materials are reducing energy consumption and lowering carbon footprints. Section 11. A call to action, our shared responsibility. Climate change is a defining issue of our time, but it is not insurmountable. The evidence is clear and compelling. We are witnessing the impacts of climate change in real time, from rising sea levels to more frequent and severe weather events. The future of our planet depends on the choices we make today. Our actions or inactions will shape the world that future generations inherit. It is our duty to ensure that we leave behind a planet that is healthy and vibrant. We must act now with urgency and ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, adapt to the impacts of climate change, and build a more sustainable and resilient future for all. This means investing in renewable energy, protecting our forests, and promoting sustainable agricultural practices. Every individual has a role to play in this collective effort. From the smallest daily habits to larger community initiatives, each action counts. Together we can make a significant impact. We can reduce our carbon footprints by making conscious choices in our daily lives, such as using public transportation, cycling, or walking instead of driving, conserving energy at home, and adopting a more sustainable diet. Simple changes like reducing meat consumption and supporting local produce can make a big difference. We can also use our voices to advocate for policies that promote clean energy, energy efficiency, and climate action. By participating in community meetings, supporting environmental organizations, and voting for leaders who prioritize the planet, we can drive systemic change. The time for action is now. We cannot afford to wait any longer. The longer we delay, the more difficult and costly it will be to address the impacts of climate change. Let us rise to the challenge and create a future where both people and planet can thrive. Together we can build a world that is not only sustainable, but also equitable and just for all.